Coming up on Central News, a strong Kiwi dollar means cheap Jap imports. It's summertime, it's time for dieting, and our local girls are the New Zealand national champs of volleyball. Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Wednesday, the 21st of January. I'm Hilary Entwistle. A strong Kiwi dollar has seen motorists driving away imported Japanese cars at bargain prices, and one Tauranga car salesman predicts the trend to continue. Figures show the New Zealand dollar is now buying about 15% more against the Japanese yen compared with this time last year, and about 30% more compared to 2 years ago. And the favourable exchange rate in recent months has led to a near record number of used cars, Japanese cars that is, available in New Zealand. At the moment, it is estimated that around 19,000 cars are for sale nationally, with the volume of vehicles putting further downward pressure on prices. Bryce Campbell, Cars owner Bryce Campbell, says car salesmen have been reaping the rewards of an exceptional exchange rate for a number of months now, with interest and sales soaring, and he isn't expecting it to slow down anytime soon. Tauranga City Library users may have a double take the next time that they see the mobile library bus as its first repaint writes the next chapter in its existence. From today until January the 26th, the mobile library is off the road as it's being repainted, with officials keeping a tight-lipped on the new colour scheme and design. The mobile library bus has been part of the City Library service since it was purchased in '99, replacing an earlier model. Since then, the mobile library's main problems have been political, but moves to remove it on budgetary grounds have been overturned by public support for the service. The mobile library has had a busy few months, having been off the road prior to Christmas after a car slammed into it on a bend near the Faith Bible College in Welcome Bay on November the 10th. The driver of the red Holden Astra appeared to bend before hitting the front of the library bus, killing 19-year-old passenger Karunbir Singh. The mobile library resumed normal service on December the 18th, offering about 3,000 books to the community following a long layoff. Tauranga's Cole Armstrong has taken a dominating hometown victory in round 3 of the Demon Energy D1 New Zealand National Drifting Championship Series, held at the ASB Bay Park Custom Drift Course. A bumper crowd enjoyed 2 days of sunshine as top of their tier international drifting returned to the Bay of Plenty, with more than 7,500 fans packing in to witness the Pro Championship main event on Sunday. Armstrong qualified first by 1.5 points ahead of series young gun Joe Kukutai in the Rockstar Energy R32 Skyline, who held an 87-point provisional pole for much of the qualifying session after a spectacular bar-setting run. Armstrong was the only driver to better Kukutai's score with an 88.5, earning himself a bye run in the top 32 competition before defeating V8 supercar race Shane Van Gisbergen in the top 16 former champion Kurt Whitaker in the top 8 and series points leader Darren Kelly in the top 4. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Thursday is looking fine with southerlies dying out. Your expected high is 27 and an overnight low of 12. The rest of the Waikato, fine with southerlies dying out. Paeroa, your expected high is 26 and an overnight low of 14. Matamata, 24 and 13. Te Awamutu, 27 and 12. And Tokoroa, 24 and 11. Tauranga, Thursday for you is looking fine with those southerlies dying out. Your expected high is 25 and an overnight low of 12. The rest of the bay, fine with southerlies dying out, and Te Puke, you can expect 24 and 13 for your temperatures. Now for the marine forecast, west coast Raglan, southwest 15 knots, rising Wednesday afternoon to a southwest 25 knots in rough seas. At 11:38 will be your high tide. East coast Bay of Plenty becoming southwest 15 knots everywhere in the afternoon. Fine spells and the odd shower. 8:31 a.m. is your high tide. Just ahead, the beach volleyball, the winners. Welcome back to Central News. Our local women's beach volleyball pairing took out the Nationals on the 11th of January at the main Mount Beach. Julia, you are currently New Zealand's #1 women's team for beach volleyball. How have you guys reached that status?
Well, I started playing with Shauna about 3 years ago. I've been playing for quite a while already, and we just got together. We had a lot of passion for the game, and coupled with our competitive nature, I think we just kind of started from there, and we had a really dominant season and went to the top of the New Zealand scene pretty quickly. And then since then, I think just we've just kept going and put in lots of hard work and training and all those sorts of things, and just kept trying to regain that title and keep it going.
So how did you guys meet then 3 years ago?
Julia and I, we played in the same indoor volleyball team. Julia, her original partner was from the South Island and couldn't make it to one of the tournaments, and I'd never really played much beach volleyball before, but Julia just asked me if I'd be interested in playing with her. So I kind of was like, Julia's really good, I'll do it. So I played with her and we won our first tournament, so that was pretty cool. And the next weekend we won again, and then the next weekend we won again, and Julia was kind of like, this is a good thing, we should keep this going, and so I just took off from there.
Is it quite different going from indoor to sand?
Yes and no. Yeah, there's like, obviously with the beach there's a lot more conditions and variables, so there's the sand and the wind. Beach volleyball requires a lot more control, and there's a few other rule changes with it.
I think only 2 people on the court, so there's a lot more
accountable. You're a lot more accountable for.
Yeah, definitely.
Are there many ankle injuries? That's all I think about when I think about playing on the sand.
Actually, surprisingly, from indoor, I did my ankle probably about 3 or 4 times, and I had to get it reconstructed. But on the sand, it's actually really supportive, because you kind of go down, and then if you go to roll it, the sand kind of supports it, and then your body corrects. So there's actually surprisingly not that many more indoor on the hard surface, I think.
That's quite surprising. Now, where have your guys' season has started? So where have you competed so far?
Well, we started off in October. We competed in North Harbour. There's a tournament up there. We then travelled all the way down to Gisborne. From there, we were fortunate enough to travel over to Manly, Australia, where we competed in the Oceania Champs and the Manly State Tour. So that was a really good way to start off our season. We then came from the 35-degree heat over in Manly straight down to Invercargill in the 10-degree heat, cold, where we got to play there, and then we were straight back up to the Mount last weekend competing.
Wow, you guys are getting around.
Yeah, that's for sure.
No, because you went to Invercargill and you had to play indoors.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
It was a bit different. I've never played indoors before, and it was actually, the southernmost volleyball tournament ever held. So that was quite exciting. But in the velodrome there, they just dumped a whole lot of sand, about 4 courts. So it was really exciting, and they had a really good vibe. And they actually did turn on the heaters for us, so it wasn't so bad.
Yeah. Especially coming from 35 degrees.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle.
Quite an odd situation, I imagine. Sand and 10 degrees.
Yeah, sand indoors and then going out to like hail.
Yeah, it's definitely something very unique for all us beach volleyballers.
It was really good competing in the South Island though, that just exposing the sport more and getting to play down there. And we did a camp with some of the kids down there, and they were just really loving the sport, so it was really cool.
Yeah, you'd have to watch out for the seals and the penguins though at South Island beaches. So what does a typical training week look like for you guys?
In season, we are very busy. We try to base ourselves at Mount Maunganui, where we train twice a day on the sand, 2 hours a session, so it can get very tiring just being in the sand in the sun all day. Pre-season, we're in the gym a lot, so we're nearly every day of the week trying to do some gym and cardio, building up for the season.
Is it quite a lot of cardio that goes into volleyball, especially beach volleyball, because you're kind of bouncing off that?
Yeah, I think you don't really realise until you haven't played for a while, and then you get back on the sand, you're like, this is so hard. But I think once you get used to it, it's a lot easier. But it is a lot of cardio. Yeah, I think you get a lot of cardio out of just playing and training and just being on the sand. So that's one of the positives, that you just get fit from just playing the sport, obviously, yeah.
Do you guys go through a lot of sunscreen? I mean, a lot of us wouldn't go to the beach every single day and be out in the sun that long. That must be so much more tiring, and heat exhaustion and all those kind of things that go with it.
Well, if you can tell, I'm pretty pasty, so I'm not the typical tan beach volleyball player. So yeah, all day, every day, I'm just lathering on the sunscreen, so we do go through a lot.
Yeah, a lot. We like the spray ones are handy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Shauna, you do my back, Shauna.
But I mean, do you guys get heat exhaustion out there? I suppose you're athletes, so
yeah. I think it's just being smart in between games, because the actual game you're only on for like max an hour, so it's just in between getting in the shade.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to wear a hat and stuff like that.
Keeping hydrated.
Yes.
Now, up until recently, when you're not on the beach and you're in the shade of your car, you were struggling to get around, and you had a little bit of a mishap on the Kaimai Ranges, I hear.
That was my car, dear poo. Yes, we had a breakdown over the Kaimais, and so the 1.5 hour trip turned into a 7-hour trip on the way home. And we just tried. It was on a Sunday, so we rang AA, and they were like, it's going to take us, we have to pick you up tomorrow because there's no one on service, and so we tried to just push on through.
The car was smoking everywhere, and we're just like, it's all good, we'll just keep going, and slowly it just kind of putted over to the side of the road. We were lucky enough to get some people to pull over and help us. What they give us? Some water and oil, but it didn't help too much. But we continued on down the Kaimais, just going like, I don't know, 15 k's an hour all the way home, just all the way back to Hamilton. We just trudged along. We'd pull over and we'd have to refill our water cap because it had split, and so the water was leaking.
Good time.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like you guys get around a lot, and you're fit, but I don't know if running to Invercargill is going to be...
Especially after a whole day of training, not ideal.
Yeah,
character building stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And running over the Kaimais might be a bit long, but...
Might be pushing it.
Yeah. So, actually got a new car though.
Yes, we're very, very lucky. We got a new Suzuki Swift at the moment to get us around for the summer, so we are very happy about that. Traveling in style. Yeah, we got, so after our little incident, we had a few friends who found out about it and thought that wasn't really good enough. So, Anne-Marie actually helped us out and got in touch with some people at Nicholson Motors, lovely, lovely people, who came to our need and, sponsored us a car and with Suzuki. And, they've helped us out for the summer, which we're very grateful for.
Make sure you follow the girls' journey on their Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/Tilly Polly Beach Volley. Coming up next, dieting. It's summer. Welcome back to TV Central with Central News. Sugar-free, carb-free, high-protein, detox diet, soup diet, the list of different diets to try is endless. And it seems it's one extreme or the other. Yet Kiwis are losing the battle of the bulge. Holistic nutritionist and personal trainer Stacey Hancock spoke with Anne-Marie about nutrition.
Stacey Hancock, welcome to Central News. There always seems to be one fad diet or another, doesn't there? Whatever happened to the notion of everything in moderation?
Well, everything, I don't honestly know what happened to it overall, but I do know a little something about human nature, and that our attention span is very limited. And while you have repetition, which will encourage someone to, pay attention, once you go over that threshold of repetition, it becomes wallpaper and we tune out. And the thing with fad diets is that they're shiny new toys, and everybody loves shiny and new. They make great conversational fodder. You see people talking about them on Facebook and things like that. And so that's what humans like. And the other thing too is that marketing is very savvy these days as well, and there's a lot of psychological I guess, brainwashing going on, and it's very hard to ignore that and go, oh, that sounds like exactly what I need. So that's what's happening.
New Zealand is the third fattest of all OECD countries. So embarrassing, behind Mexico and USA.
I know, it's awful.
Children aren't to blame for this, though, for their weight gain, are they?
No, they're not. They're too young to know how the human body functions and what is actually causing these things. But similarly, you know, I don't know if we can lay any blame, as such, using that word, because people just don't know how the body works and what happens to this food. So you can't blame what you don't know. But if you do know and you're still doing it, then, you know, the blame lies with whoever's, you know, going against the knowledge they know.
That's an interesting point. Is education the key? Do people really understand how the human body works and what it needs to fuel itself? Should we be teaching this at school?
We should be teaching this at school, and in a more formal way than just, you know, health class in some of the schools that are maybe having a little component on food. People need to understand how to look after themselves, because this is what you've got for, you know, 80, 90 years of your life. So you really want to learn how to look after it properly.
In the 80s, it was all about fat. That fat was bad, and then we moved on to carbs. Let's go no carb. And now it seems sugar. Everywhere we look, the message is that sugar is bad. What's next?
Protein.
It's bad to breathe. Oh, I don't know what's next, but something will be next. But we're pigeonholing. We're being too isolated. The problem is how we're living our lives. We want convenient food, so we're buying it. And so that's full of sugar and fat and salt and trans fats and additives. It's not down to, you know, what's the one thing that's bad. It's what is the overall big problem, and can we get stuck into that and deal with people and human behaviour instead of just telling you, right, eat this, don't eat this. You know, the Needn't Food list came out a couple of years ago. You heard about it for 1 week and that was it. Didn't help anybody.
For further details and information about nutrition, go to staceyhancock.co.nz. Raising monarch butterflies is a fantastic nature lesson for children and adults alike this summer. Anne-Marie spoke with Lynn Pickering from Palmer's Garden Centre in Hamilton to find out how we can have a plethora of monarch butterflies in our gardens.
Lynn Pickering from Palmer's Garden Centre, welcome to Central News. We're talking monarch butterflies. 'Tis the season. How easy is it to raise them?
It's really easy. All you need is a couple of swan plants, nice warm sheltered spot to put them in, sit back and enjoy.
Now, what if we have lots of very hungry caterpillars and our swan plants get stripped? Can we feed them other food, just like in the book?
It's not easy to get them to develop into the butterfly if you feed them other food. The cycle for them is about 10 to 14 days for each stage. So from the egg to the caterpillar is about 10 days. For the caterpillar it's about the same, about 14 days, and then it's about the same for the chrysalis stage before it hatches into the butterfly. If the caterpillars are at least 10 days old, you can try transferring them to pumpkin or cucumber. So that old story does actually work. But they have to be a certain stage. If they're any younger than that, they won't develop into the chrysalis. So it's ideal that they're at least 10 days old before you transfer them to that. So you need enough swan plant to get them to that stage.
How many caterpillars per swan plant, roughly?
2 to 3 maximum.
Is that all?
It is. They're very voracious. They eat a lot in one day. They can demolish a plant in no time at all. So you need to have enough swan plants, or you need to be ruthless in stripping the eggs from the leaves so you don't have too many caterpillars at once.
No.
Way easier to squish the eggs than it is to squish the baby caterpillars.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Can we not just buy a few more swan plants?
Yes, of course. We'd love to sell you more swan plants. The other trick is to plant them earlier in the season and to have a couple. Cover one with a net so that the butterflies can't lay the eggs on it, so that it stops it being stripped too soon. Then your plant's going to be a lot bigger and is going to sustain a lot more caterpillars than a little plant that's only got a few leaves on it.
So that's going to become the actual food source?
Yes, it is.
Now, once the caterpillars have become pupae, what should we be doing?
You can take a branch from a plant if you've got it planted in your garden. If you've got it in a pot, just move the pot to a nice sheltered spot. You can move it indoors to watch that chrysalis develop. When you see it change colour and become transparent, that's when the butterfly is going to hatch. And it can happen quite quickly then. So you could turn your back and go away for an hour and come back and hello, you've got a butterfly. The butterfly needs to be then taken out into the fresh air and just allow the sun to strengthen its wings before it takes flight. So don't try and keep your butterfly indoors and try not to handle them, because if you bruise them, obviously they're very fragile and you're only going to damage them.
Lynn Pickering, thank you so much. I can't wait to have a plethora of butterflies in the garden.
Thank you.
That is Central News for today. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can via our Facebook page, centralnews.tv, or alternatively, you can email us, news@tvcentral.co.nz. Join me again tomorrow night on Central News for more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.